Welcome back to Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here. 866-300-9298. 866-300-9298. You're listening to Financial Issues. We're going to get right to the phones. Let me go to Christine in Texas. Hey, Christine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure. Did she already tell you my issue?
Okay.
I'm 50 years old. I had to start over, and I'm single now, and I have $25,000 in retirement, which they match. But the increasing in rent, it's $1,000 for a 650 square foot one-bedroom apartment, and the interest rates are pretty low right now for homes. And I'm thinking I should pull out my retirement and just buy a home because it's just way too expensive, and I don't make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
I'm struggling.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Christine. If you take that out and you buy a home, of course you've got to pay, unless you can borrow enough out, to put a down payment down. You're going to have to pay tax and penalty of 10%. So let's say so it's probably going to cost you about 20 to 25% total to get that money out. So whatever you think you have in there, you're going to have to take 25% off right off the top, because you're going to have to set that aside in order to pay the taxes and the penalty on it. So keep that in mind. But here's what I get where here's what I'd like to see happen, and so would you, I'm sure. It would be great if you could buy a home now. If you could find an inexpensive condominium or home or something like that, so that maybe you could be working in the next 15 years to try to get that paid off, and plug away at it. It would be great if someday you're not going to have any rent or any mortgage payment, and that's a great thing to be working towards. My concern is you don't work for a company or a place where you have a pension, I guess. Do you? Or is it just the 401k?
State.
I'm sorry, I didn't. What was that?
I work for the state of Texas.
Oh, you work for the state. So you'll have a pension?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be starting from scratch if I pulled it out today.
Okay, but you don't have
a match it, so
you don't have a pension over and above the 401k, though.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just a teacher's retirement plan.
Okay. Sometimes there's a pension that is over and above the 401k. So,
no.
my concern would be is that it's going to take you a long time to build that back up again. And, I would, it's a tough decision, because obviously if you bought something, you'd be a lot better off. Now, I would say if they allow you to borrow out of your 401k, which I think they do,
really?
to allow you to borrow it, and then you'll be paying yourself back through your, future contributions with interest. And it keeps some sort of consistency going in your paying into it, and you're not paying that 25% in penalty and taxes at that point. I think that might be a good option. So I would call Human Resources and find out what the options are for you to borrow that out. And I think that might make some sense for you, to borrow out a down payment to put on an inexpensive home.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at anything expensive, but kind of, safe. Yeah. And I've got my 80-year-old parents that I'm going to have to take care of, and it's just hard.
Your parents? Do your parents have a home?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah,
they don't. No.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. I know it's hard. I remember taking care of my parents and, trying to do so many other things. It's very, very difficult, and it's very burdensome. But, I think that if you just continue to try to work to stay out of debt, if you can buy a little place by borrowing. I would look at that first. If you can't borrow for some reason, which I think you can, but if you can't and that's not going to work out, then I'm afraid to say that I think you're just going to have to keep renting and plug it along as hard as it is. So I try that. Call Human Resources and find out what the situation is there. Thank you, Christine. I hope
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. Let me go to Kevin in Georgia. Hey, Kevin. Kevin?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Dan?
Good morning.
Thank you for what you do. I've learned a lot from your show. Just a couple of quick questions. I'm 39 years old. I have no retirement. My wife is 41, and she has a 401k. She probably has about 40,000 in there. We don't have a whole lot of debt. I got a house payment, of course, and one car payment. Other than that, there's no other debt. I've got about 5,000 in my emergency savings fund, and just wondering, what should I do? Should I start a Roth IRA or wait and build my savings up more, or what would your advice be?
I would probably go ahead and start a Roth IRA. I think that would make sense for you now to maybe get that started and start contributing something to that every month. I'd like to see your emergency savings build up a little bit more. So I don't want you to totally forget about that and not contribute to it. Ideally, you can split, whatever your discretionary income is right now that you're putting in savings, you can maybe put, just half as much in there and put it over into your Roth IRA. But
I do have this. I forgot to tell you. I have a house I own, a rental house that I own. I get $500 a month rent on it. Would you recommend maybe putting half of that in the IRA, maybe do it that way? Or
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you could do that, I think that would be great. You don't have a mortgage on that rental?
On that rental, no, sir. It was gave to me by my mother, so it's paid for.
Yeah, I think that would be great to do that, and that would make a lot of sense. I mean, if you can do that, I think that would really help you a lot, and continue to save a little bit, and that makes sense. And by the way, since you have a rental property, the savings becomes a little bit more important, because I assume if something goes wrong that you've got to fix in the rental property, you might use some of your savings to do that. So all the more reason to build up your savings. But that sounds like a great plan. I would definitely do that.
Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Kevin. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Let me go to, let's see. Where am I? Dale from Virginia. Hey, Dale.
Yes, sir. Hey, Dan. How are you?
Good.
I was wondering if you could tell me anything about particle accelerators and any investments going around. I guess it's such a new technology. I've been doing a lot of reading, and it's a very interesting technology, but it seems like it could be a very dangerous technology.
Yeah.
You know anything about that?
Well, I know it's not that new. It's been around a long time. The concept's been around a long time, probably, I want to say 25 years or more.
Right.
And they've been perfecting and working on it. And they continue to work on this. There's nothing that is publicly traded that you can get in on that's going to have a lot of upside potential, so to speak. I mean, certainly
but
it's
such a broad technology. I see that it's 26,000 particle accelerators throughout the world of different types.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of those are going to end up, not all of them, but my guess is, this is going to be another form. If it begins to take a hold, it's going to be another form of energy. It's going to be a form of it's going to be a utility, and I'm sure there are going to be emerging out of all of this a utility or a few utility companies that are going to start to profit from this technology at some point in time, and that'll be around the world. But I don't know enough about it other than I know the basics of how it all works, but and that it has been around a long time. It's not something that I have done a lot of research on, but I think that someday there certainly will be some opportunities for publicly traded opportunities to, maybe make some money off the growth of this if it can grow.
Okay.
All right.
So it's still early in the game with this. I guess it's going to take some years for it to catch up.
Yeah, it's very early. And we'll see. And it is dangerous technology, and that's the other issue. But it's good. It's great technology. It's a never-ending flow of energy. So yeah. Good stuff. Thanks. Let me go to Austin in Arkansas. 866-300-9298. We've got a line open. Hey, Austin.
Hey, I'm a first-time caller. I was going to ask, with our economy and how much our government's getting in debt with foreign affairs, I was going to ask how many trillions of dollars will our government get in debt until it completely destroys our economy? And if that will happen, when will it be most likely to happen?
Well, that's an interesting question, Austin. I've got my opinion written in an article coming out today in my newsletter about that very thing. So here's the thing. We're already at the point where the trillions of dollars worth of debt we have can create a bankruptcy of the United States of America. But some other things have to happen in order for that to happen. So this isn't the days of the 30s during the Depression when our debt wasn't insurmountable and we could limp along. Those days are gone right now based on the unfunded liabilities that we have of $100 trillion and our national debt and our continued spending. So basically, I would say that if nothing happens in the economy, in other words, there's not a major geopolitical issue where we see a huge interruption in the flow of oil or an interruption in the flow of credit globally, that something like that doesn't happen, and we don't have some sort of national crisis that could create another recession, then we can limp along for quite some time. I would say, we are at a new normal right now. I am hearing commentators, economists talk about a 3% growth rate in GDP, that we are on track for a very good economy this year with a 3% growth rate. That is about the most ridiculous statement anybody can say. Because to say that a 3% growth rate is good means that you've bought in to the new normal. The new normal is a stagnant, do-nothing economy. Because 3% may be just enough to keep pace with population growth. So if we do anything under 3%, I think it's more like 3.5%. If we do anything under 3%, we're going backwards. So we continue to go backwards in the economy. At some point in time, that's got to catch up with us. Now, so if nothing happens from a geopolitical event, war, something like that drives what little we have to stop, then we can limp along in a stagnant economy, similar to what Japan did in their lost decade, which was more than a decade. It was more like 15 years. We can continue to limp along. No wage growth, no more unemployment growth than what we have right now. Lower unemployment because of population growth, lower participation rate. But people are literally, for the most part, little inflation. Then we can limp along. Nobody's going to get better off. You're not going to be better off in 5 years than you are today. None of us are. So everything's just going to be stagnant. So if we can maintain that and control spending a little bit, which is unlikely, but if we could do that, then we can limp along. So I think we've already reached the point by any hiccup in the global economy that impacts us, we're toast. So I think we're already to that point. Is there a magic number? Sure. Eventually, once we get up to to the $25 trillion mark in our national debt, and by then our unfunded liabilities would be $125 trillion. By the time we get to that point, then things are going to have to start to fall apart. Whether there's a geopolitical black swan, they call it, event or not. So,
do you have a fixed idea when that might be? The $25 trillion?
No, I don't. Well, I know. Well, if we look at the current pace of spending, we're going to be at $25 trillion in less than 10 years. Easily, we're at 19. We're at 18 now. I mean, we're going to be there in pretty short order. So we're going to be there in 10 years. Now, here's what you have to look at, though. It's you can't look at one number without looking at another number. So if you look at $25 trillion in debt, the question is not going to be just the $25 trillion in debt. The question is, what has GDP done? What has the economy done? Now, if the economy begins to grow at a good pace of 4%, 4.5%, and the debt is going up at the same time, then of course that pushes that timeline out dramatically. So it's based on several factors. It's not just based on, we can't just look at debt. We've got to look at earnings to pay the debt. And earnings come from a thriving economy, not just taxes, which is where it's coming from now, but it's coming from a thriving economy, not a thriving market, but a thriving economy. So all those things have to be looked at and see the correlations between them. 866-300-9298. We'll be right back.